In the summer of 1867, in a remote farming community outside Sedalia, Missouri, 8-year-old Timothy Caldwell became the subject of the most disturbing medical case study ever documented in the American Midwest. Dr. Samuel Harding, the region's only physician, filled 3 leather-bound journals with observations of a child whose behavior defied every principle of human nature known to 19th-century medicine. The boy appeared normal, even charming to casual observers. But beneath his innocent exterior lay something that medical science of the era simply could not explain. For 6 months, 3 people died in accidents around Timothy Caldwell, along with dozens of farm animals found dead under mysterious circumstances. 11 people who had all in some way crossed paths with a child whose smile never reached his pale blue eyes. The official records were sealed by local authorities and hidden away for over a century. But the truth about Timothy Caldwell reveals a darkness that challenges everything we thought we knew about the capacity for evil in childhood. Before we continue with the story of Timothy Caldwell and the terror that gripped Sedalia County, if this story intrigues you, make sure to subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into America's darkest historical mysteries. And please let us know in the comments what state or city you're listening from. We love hearing from our community of mystery enthusiasts around the world. The events that would make Timothy Caldwell infamous began not with violence, but with loss. The Missouri of 1867 was a state still bleeding from the wounds of civil war. Towns like Sedalia had sent their young men to die on distant battlefields, leaving behind widows, orphans, and communities struggling to rebuild. The Caldwell farm, nestled in a valley 15 miles south of town, had once been prosperous. James and Martha Caldwell had built their homestead with dreams of raising cattle and corn, but those dreams died with James at the Battle of Wilson's Creek in 1861. Martha tried to maintain the farm alone, but consumption took her lungs in the bitter winter of 1865. Their son, Thomas, barely 21, inherited land he couldn't work and debts he couldn't pay. When Thomas received word that his brother William had died at Andersonville Prison, leaving behind a widow and 8-year-old son, he saw both burden and opportunity. The boy Timothy would need a home, and Thomas needed help with the endless work of farming. Thomas Caldwell was a hard man, made harder by war and loss. His wife Sarah had grown sharp-tongued and bitter during their childless years. Neither was particularly suited for raising a child, especially one who arrived at their door in the spring of 1866, carrying nothing but a small cloth bag and eyes that seemed far too old for his young face. Timothy Caldwell was small for his age, with pale skin that burned easily in the Missouri sun, and blonde hair that his Aunt Sarah kept cut short to keep the lice away. He spoke little of his life before the farm, offering only fragments when pressed. His father had been a soldier. His mother had coughed blood. He had lived with neighbors for a while after she died. What struck adults most about Timothy was his politeness. He always said, "Yes, sir," and "Yes, ma'am." He never complained about work or punishment. He seemed in every way to be the model of a well-behaved child. Dr. Samuel Harding first encountered Timothy in June of 1866 when the boy accompanied his uncle to town for supplies. Harding, a graduate of the Missouri Medical College and one of the few formerly trained physicians west of St. Louis, had developed a keen eye for reading people. During his years treating both Union and Confederate soldiers, something about the Caldwell boy unsettled him, though he couldn't identify what the child was. Perfectly respectful, Harding would later write in his journal. He answered questions directly, maintained appropriate eye contact, and displayed none of the fidgeting or shyness typical of rural children encountering strangers. Yet, I found myself deeply uncomfortable in his presence. His gaze held an intensity that seemed to suggest he was studying me with the same clinical interest that I typically reserved for my patients. The farming community around Sedalia was small enough that everyone knew everyone else's business. The Caldwell farm was isolated, but not so isolated that neighbors didn't notice things. Mrs. Ella Patterson, whose property bordered the Caldwell land, would often see Timothy working in the fields or tending to the livestock. She remarked to her husband that the boy worked with unusual focus for a child his age, never seeming to tire, never stopping to play or rest, as children naturally do. It was like watching a little machine, she told her husband Samuel over dinner one evening. He'd worked steady from sunrise to sunset, never complaining, never slowing down. Ain't natural for a boy to have no play in him at all.